need to understand what exactly why do we need to understand what is blockchain, and why was something like a blockchain that came into existence. So I'll tell you that why it came into existence. So for that, I just need you to understand a few basic things. The few basic things, when I talk about it, it is basically a few internet. For me, internet is basically something that is the primary layer or the basic layer, something which is the base or the core of blockchain technology. And after internet, there is something that you need. Why do we need it is something that we will understand here. So the internet has given us like internet has completed almost 4 decades of data, and in this 4 decades it has given us email.com, world wide web, big data, and I don't know what, so many things. And it has definitely reduced the cost of search, collaboration, and it has been helpful in extracting information. Today, if you want to have information about anything, you just type it on the internet and you have the solution. But even if all these things are present, can you still trust someone when you're doing a transaction? Can you still feel that, do you know, or you can establish an identity of someone whom you do not know and you have met over the internet? The answer is no. Why? You need a third party to do it. How? You maybe when you're transacting, if you're sending, let's say, something to me, or if you are doing something online like a transaction, you need a third party to establish that trust for you. You need, for example, if you're paying me, you need Paytm, PayPal, all these things. And these are intermediaries, so you are not able to establish that trust factor. And if what if someone who claims to be someone actually is not that, and later on what happens is he defrauds you, and there is some scam that happens. So there is literally no way you can find out who has actually scammed you, and you just go out, put out a report and just forget all the money that you have lost. So that is also a problem there. And the third thing is, which is one of the biggest problem, even after 4 decades of the internet, we have around 2.5 billion people who are yet not connected to the financial systems. Now, is it something that is very good? Or is it something that when we talk about financial inclusion, our prime minister always keeps on talking about financial inclusion and to help the poor and everything like that. Similarly, when we talk about the whole earth, there are still 2.5 billion people out of the people that are there on earth who do not have any uh, relation, or you can say connection, to the finance world, to the banking and everything. Hence, we needed something that can create trust without being an intermediary or the third party who eats up a lot of profit that you make. For example, Uber, you have when you're taking a ride, Uber gives you a trustable platform to book your ride and take you from one place to another, but it takes around 25% of the cut of the money that you're paying to someone. So that is why that is something that urges people to have a technology where there is no need for anyone to be an intermediary, where it can function on its own, where there is no need of a third party to create the trust for anything. That is why we needed blockchain. Now, what exactly is blockchain? So you can definitely Google it out and you'll find this definition. But how do you understand that? And how do you think that this definition is something that you can always have in your mind? So that is something that I'm going to explain you here with the help of an example. I'm not going to read out what exactly is written. Later on, I'll connect it to you. And I'll take an example of someone, let's say, let's talk about days when you were in college, or let's talk about any time in right now where you are going for a movie with your friends. It could be any time. So when you're going for a movie, let's say you're four friends, and if you're going to a movie, what you do basically, you tell someone to book the movie tickets, tell someone else to go ahead after booking the tickets, tell someone else to pay for the food that you eat at there. Later on, when you're coming out, you ask someone else to pay for the ice cream that you had. Or let's say the last person who is there, he takes care of the transport, who is when you're coming and you're going. So all these expenses are borne by different people, and all these expenses are different. It won't be like, for example, if you have booked the tickets for 1200 rupees, it won't be like your cost of transport is also 1200, the cost of food is also 1200, and everything else is also 1200. So basically, what happens here is that you have to divide it. Now, let's say these were friends, and what you did was, to have a very good way. what you actually did was you said that, okay, in order to understand what how we divide the expenses, we install Google Sheets, or let's say we have Splitwise or something like that, an app like where you split all the expenses. So we create a group there, and we create a group, and every time we incur any expense, let's say I'm incurring the expense of booking the tickets, so you book the tickets, you enter that amount in Splitwise or Google Sheets, and after you have created a group, so every time you upload something, what happens is somewhere some around the world, if all the four people who are in that group, they are notified, they're told, yes, the first person has bought the tickets which was for 1200, this is the copy of the receipt, and this is 1200 divided by 4, and this is the expense that everyone has to bear. Now when someone else goes ahead and pays for the food, again the same thing happens, and all the four transactions, the same thing happens. And every time someone is uploading it, you are getting notified for this. And if you're getting notified for this, what is happening is, yes, you can always see what the transaction is happening. Similarly, in a blockchain, what happens is, a blockchain in the simplest form are time-stamped series. So every time you're incurring the expense, like you are entering a bill on that Excel sheet or Splitwise, it is getting timestamped. Okay. The second is, it is immutable record of data. Definitely, these two things are not immutable because you can later on change. But when you are even changing them, everyone is notified. So you cannot change without others knowing about it. So because that is not a blockchain application, that is just an example that I am trying to give you. So that is there. So it is an immutable record of data on blockchain. In blockchain, if you have written something, you cannot overwrite it, you cannot edit it, you can add on it, but you cannot like delete it or edit it, which is one of the biggest problems in the accounting industry, where entries are deleted, edited, modified, and sometimes they disappear. So that thing is there. So it is an immutable record of data managed by a cluster of computers. Now here you had like four systems or four mobile phones where this app was installed. So let's say the first one who has bought the ticket, he loses his phone. The other three still can see the data. This other three still have the data. Though they are connected to a centralized server, here they are not a centralized server. Here all the data is managed by everyone. So like there were four people that I told you in the example. So in the all the four people have the exact copy of data which is there. So if even one person loses the data, the other three still have the data. If one person is attacked or his data gets corrupted, other three still have the data. So that is also one big thing. And the last thing is, it is not owned by a single entity. Why? Because we were four people, and each of these four people were having the data, they were handling the data. So that is there. So basically, this is what is blockchain in the most simplest terms. And this is what exactly each and every block of data. So what happens is, when you put in data, it is stored in a block. And in that block, what happens is that block is changed to the next block with the help of a hash. Now, what all these things are, these are something that I'll maybe take on later on. So is blockchain app? No, it is not an app. Basically, it is a software that is run, that is downloadable freely on the internet. You can just, like, for example, one of the use cases of blockchain, which is Bitcoin, you can simply go ahead and you can download the whole data. You can download the software and you can become a node and you can start mining on it. So that is there. So it is just like a software. So right now this total size of Bitcoin is around 200 GB. 200 GB data is there that you have to download if you have to download the complete data of the whole Bitcoin transactions that have happened till date. So that is there. Now, like I said, there is no central authority. It is shared and immutable ledger, and the information is open to anyone and everyone to see. Now, when you read about this, the information is open to anyone, and it is everyone who can see the data. The first thing that will come to your mind is, where is data privacy? Now, what happens here is, though the data is on a public or an open forum, the data is not like, for example, your name is written out there that, let's say, Azure, and someone else has done this data, so you can just go out and see it. No, your name is, you can say, changed, or you can say the name will be written as ABXYCS, something like that. So even if the data is on a public domain, you cannot just go ahead and see it until and unless you know who are transacting and their particular wallet addresses from which the balances are moving. So that is a very important aspect here. So even if the data is present, you can, yes, definitely just go on blockchain.com and you can simply see that, yes, you can see all the data, but you cannot decipher who is doing the transaction and how the transactions are happening. So yes, it is open. So that means that you cannot corrupt this data, because if you will, someone else will have the true copy, and he will not accept the corrupted data or the modified data that you have tried to insert. So that way it becomes more secure. And there is not one single person who is checking that whether you have added the correct data or not. For Bitcoin, I'm taking the example of Bitcoin because you have to take an example when you have to explain something, and it is not something which is common for everything. So that is why I take the example of Bitcoin. And let's talk about Bitcoin. So we have around 100,000 people, and if you download it and tomorrow if you start mining Bitcoins, you add to that 100,000 people who are actually maintaining the security of your Bitcoin system. So there is no central authority, but there are more than 100,000 people who are maintaining its security across the globe. So you cannot just go ahead and you can corrupt it, or you can attack a mainframe and you can hack it out. So that is not possible, because you can hack one server, two servers, but you cannot hack more than 100,000 servers or nodes that are there. That makes it more and more secure. And this is the only technology that is out there which claims that its security increases every day. There is no software or technology that is out there which says that with every passing day, the security of it increases. Bitcoin is the only software which says that its security increases every day. Why? Like I told you, every time a new person is downloading it and running it, he is getting added to that 100,000 people. So that means another person who there, which is who is verifying the data. And in order to corrupt this data, or you can say modify this data, you need to have control of 51% or more of these nodes. So that means you need to have over 50,000 nodes that you can conquer, or you can say that is in simple terms. And if I talk about complexity, it will just go over the head. So I'm just taking it in a simple format. So that is why we say that Bitcoin is one of the most secure. And a lot of people say that, yes, the value of Bitcoin is going so high. Why it is going so high? It is just a you can say figure of imagination. The answer is no. The security protocols that it follows, and a lot of things that are there, this demand and everything that is there. So it will start a debate here. So do not ask any questions right now about pricing of Bitcoin. We can take it afterwards after the session is over. But that is one of the major points why people trust this technology, because it's security. On it today, there is a law called Moore's law. Moore's law says that every technology that is created, so every year, what happens is the security mechanism doubles itself, and so does the power of hackers itself. So if today you are developing a new technology, by next year that technology might be possibly be redundant. Why? For Bitcoin, this security is increasing every day. So you can see that why this is one of the biggest reason for the value itself. And moving ahead, like I have a question, let me read that and then I move to the next one. If you have any questions, keep typing them out. No, you cannot set. So basically, the question that you have asked, let me read it out, and then only I think people will be able to understand. So someone has said that it is like Facebook website for money, and it will have many individuals using the server and can share stuff among friends. No, everyone has its own server. It is not a centralized server. And basically, if you want to visualize it, it is like, for example, let's. I think I have a slide. I'll show that slide later on, so you will be able to visualize it. Moving ahead right now, so a lot of people think like when we started it, I took up simple questions that, and people think that Bitcoin and all these things are still not there in India, and these things are just small and they're not coming in India. So right now, I'll in the next 2-3 slides, I'm just going to tell you a few stats about blockchain, then where it has already made an impact, where the industries are coming, and then we move on to India, and then whatever is happening by the first by the government, by the private sectors, by the startups. These three things are the bifurcations that I have for you today. So when we talk about stats that we have, so basically you can say that over 2 million people have created the wallets that are there. So these wallets are increasing day by day, and this is a 2019 data, which was a pre-COVID. And Bitcoin and blockchain technology is a technology which has not been hit by COVID. It had the exact reverse impact. So every industry, where while it was going down, the blockchain industry was going up. Whatever growth we had thought would happen in the next 3 to 4 years has already happened this year, or will happen in the next year itself. Why? Because this, as more and more, because when this all started, it all started because of one thing. It was not something that it was already evolving somewhere or something like that. It started because of the mistrust on the government. And in 2008, there was a huge mistrust on the government in the US, because of which this whole concept, this whole Bitcoin concept came into existence. It was proposed where you do not have to trust someone to give you something, or give you that, you can say, money is worth, or something like that. So it was created because of that. And because of, in the COVID series, what happened was, because of COVID, the trust of people, if you quote, in US, around 22% of the notes in circulations have been circulated in this year. Now, do you feel that exactly that is that the amount of gold or the reserves that the central government of US has, for which they have issued the currencies? The answer is no. They do not have it. So if they do not have it, and they're just printing it out of the blue, then ultimately what will happen is, this will increase a lot of inflation in that economy. If the inflation will increase in that economy, your money's worth will decrease. So let me quote an example, a small example of Argentina. So Argentina is among the top 5 nations who, in the, you can say, inflation index. How last year in 2018-19, the inflation was around 53%. Do you know what that means? That means that if you earned 1 lakh rupees this year, without spending a single penny, next year the value of 1 lakh rupees is 53,000 only. So that is there. So this is what is going to happen in the future. And more distrust is coming for the government. That is why the value and the investments and everything in the blockchain system is getting it. And we are finance people, and we came here to find out how, as a finance professional, we can benefit from it. So let me tell you the rise of the blockchain jobs. So I keep getting, like, every week I keep getting a job opportunity in the blockchain, or in the blockchain world, for research, for analysis, for anything. And a lot of things are there, so that are already happening. So when people said that in India this is not happening, so this has already started. If I'm getting it, that means it is already started, and the growth is already massive that is happening. So in before COVID, we have a slide, something called DeFi. I'll take up later on what exactly this is. And its value before COVID was like around $800 million. And how many months have this is in the month of March, and today we are sitting in November, let's say just November. And if we're sitting in November, its value has already reached $12 billion. So if that is happening, the value, or the value increase, is massive. It is very massive. So that is already happening. The investments that are there, they are increasing. The average number of monthly ICOs. What is ICO? So ICO is equivalent to an IPO. An IPO or an ICO. So ICO is initial coin offering. So in IPOs, you give your shares. In ICOs, you give coins. And it is a global phenomena. It is not something which is restricted to an economy or to a particular market. This is a global phenomena, and the investments are increasing at a rate that you cannot imagine. So that is already there. Now let's move on to let me take a few questions. Can we mine Bitcoin? Yes, we can mine, but it requires a specific set of processors, which are known as ASIC processors, ASIC processors, that is application specific integrated circuits. And these processors are basically, they cost you right now. Earlier, when it was 2008 or 2009, it was almost free, because you could have mined it on your personal mobile phones. But right now, the complexity has increased so much that you cannot mine it on your mobile phones anymore. So you can do it, provided you have the money, a money power to do it. So that is there. So there is no law who can prevent it. It is just your money power that can prevent you. Heard that hackers stole Bitcoin from legal and see, yes, when I talk about hacking, so you cannot hack Bitcoin, but you can hack exchanges. Like for example, we have NSE, BSE. So if NSE and BSE is being hacked, you cannot say my Reliance share got hacked, Reliance company got hacked. It is the NSE and the BSE that is getting hacked. If someone is taking out the shares from your account and putting it in someone else's account, so that is the exchanges that are getting hacked. It is not the company itself. You cannot say if Reliance shares were there in my account and supposedly tomorrow morning they move out from my account and go to someone else's account. You cannot say Reliance is getting hacked. You say that the exchange is getting hacked. So that is happening, but the Reliance is not getting hacked. Miners, you don't have to trust miners. Why do you want to trust miners? You don't have to. And for learning, I will tell you at the end how you can learn, how you can start, because a lot of questions are there how to learn about it. And I self started it, but it took me a very long time to learn all these things. So moving on, what are the industries that have already been impacted by blockchain? So you can see that the banking and the financial, so banking and financial things are being impacted by blockchain the most. And I can say that because in the upcoming slide, I'll show you what exactly a bank can do versus what exactly a solution on a blockchain can do. And if all the things that bank can do, these things can do without any need of any banks. So that I'll show you. The second is real estate. So today when we do a real estate transaction, tell me, like type it out on the chat function or anything where you can tell me how much time do you think that it takes to complete a real estate transaction in India these days. And then I'll tell you a solution which has been implemented in Dubai and how much time it takes. Yes, so right, correct. We take around 2 months, 3 months, and that is the total time that you take. So in Dubai, what they have done is they have brought in the whole infrastructure on the blockchain platform, and when you're typing out months, type out hours. That is the number of time. That is the time that it is taking in Dubai to complete a transaction of a sale or purchase of a flat. Just 2 3 hours or 4 hours. I can maybe you can search it out on Google, blockchain solutions on real estate in Dubai. So they are completing it within 3 or 4 hours at maximum. 2 months to 2 3 hours. That is the power of blockchain. Next is healthcare. So the third biggest reason that is there on healthcare, why people die. The third biggest reason is that you can say the patient is not getting the doctor is not getting the patient's data real time. If they're not able to get the data of the patient on time, they're not able to understand what is the problem with the patient, and hence maybe that patient has some allergic reactions to some medicines or anything like that. And if that is not discovered on time, you cannot save the patient and there can be some real consequences. Healthcare, there are a lot of solutions that are coming on healthcare where they're trying to sync up with all the companies, you can say, or all the health related companies, and they're trying to ensure that healthcare is being revolutionized in a way. So that is the first way. Another way is, in India, do you know how many doctors you have per 1 lakh people? It is very less. Any guesses that you have? Any guess, like for 1 lakh people, how many doctors do you have? Yeah, it's around 7 8 doctors. And do you think 7 8 doctors for 1 lakh people is enough? The answer is no. And so basically what is happening is, because of this, a lot of people in the rural areas or in the remote areas, they're not getting their cure, and they're dying. They're actually dying, and those data never come out in the broad daylight, so you we have no idea about it. The blockchain, what blockchain is doing is, it is enabling uh, a system whereby you can get remote doctors, and these remote doctors are not something like you can say that Practo is giving today. So Practo is giving you a doctor online, you can have a video chat. No, it is devising some devices, it is linking up with IoT, which is Internet of Things, IoT devices, whereby even if a doctor is sitting in US and he is analyzing a patient in a village in India, he can actually get his pulses, he can actually get his heart rate and every related data that he wants to assess whether that patient is, what is the medicine that the patient requires. So that is one of the biggest innovation in the medical history here, which is being happening on the blockchain. Why blockchain? Because blockchain is enabling it. Blockchain is not doing it, blockchain is an enabler. So it is enabling it. In education, there are so many fake there are so many fake degrees that come up, and there is so much money that the companies spend on verifying whether the certificates are correct or not. When you have a certificate which is verified and issued on a blockchain platform, that goes away. You cannot issue any fake fake certificates here. A lot of you can say big colleges like Harvard, Stanford, they've already started issuing certificates on blockchain. And literally, if I keep talking, I can just keep going on this for like 2-3 hours, and I know that that is not the time that I have right now. So just on this, and if you have any particular thing that you want to ask on the ones which has already been revolutionized, type it out in the comments. Till then, I'm just talking about what is still pending. So what is still pending is forecasting, stock trading, wills and inheritance. So basically, let's talk about something which is so today, let's assume I want to buy a share of Apple. What I will have to do is I will have to find out if if my bank has enabled foreign remittances. If not, you have to do it then. The second thing is you will have to get a trading account, a demat account in the US. Let's say in Robinhood, you get an account there. Then this whole process takes around 20-30 days. Let's say you get an information that most probably Apple is going to unveil a new product and which will make the prices of that Apple share go boom. So you cannot wait for 30 days. That is the first problem. The second problem is the cost of Apple share. The cost of Apple share, I do not know. I'm just assuming the cost of Apple share, let's say, is around $200. So not everyone has $200 in their pockets. Or let's say the cost of Reliance share right now is 2600, 2400 or 2600, something like that. If it is there, so you do not, not everyone has 2600 rupees lying around. Partial ownership, that is what blockchain brings here. So you can have partial ownership. Let's say you have $1 and you want to invest in Apple. Yes, you can invest in Apple. You can hold a micro share of Apple. So that is something that is being right now tested. If that is there, if that comes out, definitely that would be something of a game changer, where it will enable a lot of money flow into the market from the people who are not yet into the market right now. So a lot of these things are there. Insurance is also an emerging industry which is coming out. And let's talk about now India. Enough of all the things that are happening across the globe. Now let's talk about India. So in India is not registering blockchain. It is just a false statement to say. If that is true, the chart that I'm showing you on the screen, it is a chart that was published last year. It is not this year even. There are almost more than 50% of the states in India that the state governments which have been involved in the blockchain initiatives. There are three use cases which are at the top of the list. The first one is land registry. The second is insurance. The third is digital certificates. So basically, here with the government is focusing on all these three things. The land registry in India, the land registry is pathetic. It is at a pathetic state right now. So the government is trying to put all the data on blockchain so that there is no mafia coming and changing your details. What happens is, let's say you buy a land at some place and you're not able to visit it for 2 years, and after 2 years you go there, you see already a house is built there and someone is living, and you have to fight it out, you have to spend a lot of money. And this happens a lot, and then there are inheritance issues, a lot of things are happening. So the government is trying to handle this issue. Land registry is on the top of their list, which is, and the second is farm insurance. So how do you, let's assume we have a drought in one of the villages in UP. How do you how what happens today? How do we analyze this today? Today what happens is, you basically tell that you go to your bank, you tell your bank, uh, that yes, basically, okay bank, this is the place where we have a drought and we did not get water, so the crops have gone wasted. Okay, now bank tells it to the insurance company goes ahead and goes to the fields, assesses a lot more data points, and after a month or 2 months they give out the money to the bank. And then from the bank, the ultimate customer who has suffered this loss gets the money after at least 3 months. Now, what happens? Why blockchain here? Why how blockchain can implement? So, blockchain along with IoT sensors again. Blockchain and IoT, if you marry them, they are a very good deal. They what they're trying to do is they are trying to establish drone centers with the help of drones. What will happen is one of the use cases of blockchain is smart contracts. Now, what exactly is a smart contract? Smart contract is basically a code. So let's say I and you want to enter into a transaction and we want to have a contract for it. Today we go to lawyers, and with the with lawyers we do all that thing. We ask them that this is a condition, that is a condition, and we have to write it that way. And that is how all these things happen. So with lawyers, that is that what is a lawyer? Lawyer is an intermediary here. But here, smart contract, what happens is you tell the smart contract these are the conditions on which I want to go ahead with the contract. It is a code where you have written everything, and in that code what will happen is as soon as you have write everything, it is automatically taking care of all the things that have to happen. There is no manual intervention needed. Once a smart contract is deployed, you cannot change what is there inside a smart contract. So it is not that later on someone will just sketch out a line, or he will remove one line, or he will modify a contract. No, you cannot do it. So that is how what is happening is with the help of smart contracts. If automatically, let's say at one region there is no rain, so what will smart contract do? It will get the data from the place where you can say the forecasting happens, where the weather data is stored. It will know from where that there is a drought. What will happen is with that, all the data will come to it in the smart contract, and the smart contract will tell these drone centers, go and deploy your drones in that area and just check out and map out what exactly is the place where what is the whole horizon where all these things are happening. Drones go out, drones assess the area, and after assessing it, you have already linked your bank account with the smart contract. As soon as the assessment is over, smart contract will tell that yes, this guy has taken the insurance, and if this guy has taken the insurance, this is the payment that they have to do. That payment goes out automatically. This happens within 2 or 3 days, from 3 months to 2 to 3 days. That is how it is happening. The last is digital certificates. So digital certificates I have already talked about, and let me take a few questions. I have a lot of them now. So we, like I said, we are not using. India is not at all resisting blockchain technology. It is embracing it. It is in a way it was trying to restrict cryptocurrency, and yet the law is not there. But it is still not trying to let's say take move it ahead. India is embracing this technology. Whoever is saying that India is not is giving you a wrong statement. Income tax right now has not taken any stand on what exactly is the you can say the right approach to tax this cryptocurrency, because the government is still in you can say process to understand and undermine or understand how to tax it. And yes, definitely we are eradicating human interventions. We are eradicating a lot of. Blockchain is a job killer. It will kill a lot of jobs, and the biggest people who are being impacted are the intermediaries that are there. The Ola, the Uber, the Airbnb, who have been disrupting in the past decade, they will be disrupted once the blockchain implementation is complete across the globe. And it is just like the internet, so it will take time. Well, people have their even income tax uses drones to identify if land is. I have no idea, so I will not comment on that. So that is there, and let's talk about some of the startups or some of the places where it has already in India. Um, and these things are happening. So in India, you can say in the technology sector, you have token trading, identity verification, and all those things. In BFSI is your banking sector and everything. retail and CPG, healthcare, government, human resources, and all these things. So, how is it going to disrupt Ola and Uber is a question I can just answer in 1 minute. So, Ola and Uber are basically what? They are intermediaries. They do Ola like you would have heard that quote that always comes out. Ola doesn't own a car. Google doesn't own a house or something like that. I don't know. So in that they always say that Uber does not own a car. Yes, correct. Uber is just an intermediary. It is a company which is existing because there is no trust factor which is there between you and the cab driver. Blockchain is an enabler of trust. What happens is if you deploy this whole infrastructure on blockchain, which is there on Uber, you do not actually need a third company to manage it. It can be managed by a few, you can say, programmers who can develop everything and who can have a small share, which is like 0.1% or 1%, or and not that 25% that you actually charge today. And once that happens, what will happen is, let's say you have a ride of 100 rupees. Uber is taking 100 rupees because it has to take 25 to itself, and 75 it has to give to the driver. Now, this technology which has been developed on blockchain, this says that, okay, I'm just taking 1%. So from 100 rupees, it already came down to 76. The driver is still getting 75. Driver still has a lot more benefits, because what happens today is in Uber, if you are registering for Uber, Ola, or any such thing, you cannot register for any other cab agency. And Uber and Ola can change the codes, or you can say the contracts, anytime they want. Here, this does not happen. Here, you are free to choose as many as you want, and then if you can choose as many as you want, then there is nothing like, and you cannot alter or modify the contracts. So if a technology is parallelly existing which is giving you so many benefits versus a technology which is not giving you that benefits, automatically the use of this technology will go down. And these were the startups that I talked about. These were the startups that are working here. And then you some of the Indian giants. So people can say that Indian giants are not taking interest in it. They are. Infosys, HSBC, Reliance, Federal Bank, Axis Bank, they all are working in it. And this year only, HDFC Bank, India's biggest bank, private bank, has already said that they are talking with Ripple to bring out cross-border payments. Now, I cannot make you understand how exactly everything is happening in this 1 hour webinar, and I am sorry for that, because this is something that takes a lot of time to make you understand. So these are the things that I'm trying to tell you, where you feel that yes, a lot of things are happening around you and you have to see those things happening. When I talk about banking, like I said, I'll compare banking here with you. So what does a bank do? It gives you a loan. I can tell you a solution which can still give you a loan without the need of a bank. If you have a collateral, you can go ahead, you can take a loan. There is no bank required. Bank gives you insurances, bank issues you insurances, you don't need. Credit lending, you don't need banks. Prediction markets, you don't need banks. Investing, for you need to invest in everything, so you need a bank to be your intermediary. You don't We have platforms where you don't need a bank again there. Custodian services, where you store all your money. Bank is like a custodian, where you're storing your money in digital format. Okay. Payments, all these things that bank is doing. There is a concept called DeFi, which is decentralized finance. In this, there is no one, there is literally no one who can say that you need banks anymore. And that is why, like I said, the value that is being increased, the value of DeFi that I said in what I think I said March or April. In March or April, the value was $800 million. Right now, it is over $12 billion. That is why the value is increasing here. And this is the paradigm shift, and this is the wealth shift that is happening right now, which people are not able to understand. Because let me tell you, if there are 100 people who can understand what is blockchain, there are 50 people who can understand what is Bitcoin, and there is just one person who can make you understand what exactly is DeFi. DeFi is something that you might have heard first time today on this webinar. If that is true, you can say, yes, I have heard it the first time. So basically that is happening. A lot of things are happening, a lot of things are changing, and a lot of, I see the yeses. And this industry, do you know since when this industry has existed? This industry is already there from 2018, and we are in 2020. So even after 2.5 years, we have not yet heard what DeFi is. And I teach DeFi. So when I say I teach DeFi, yes, I have a whole course on DeFi. I've been so a lot of things are happening, and if we are able to understand these things at a time where you can make a move, you can earn from it, and you can have an impact, that is the time, and this is that time where you can just go ahead, you can explore this, and definitely I'll tell you how to. So don't worry about that. So that is there. And now ultimately coming to the final thing, which is the types of users that we have. The first one is the users. So we are like, yes, definitely. So basically we are like users right now who have no knowledge what is happening, and ultimately when the final outcome will come, you will, what will happen is you will ultimately adopt it. So this is the exact way where you do not get the first movers advantage, you do not earn anything, you do not take the advantage of it. The second is architects. This is us. How? I will tell you, I have a complete slide on it. So I will tell you how we are architects. And the last one is hardcore coders. A lot of you think that, okay, I think we need to be coders to understand blockchain, to be working on blockchain technology. The answer is absolutely no. If you have ever been into a, if you have ever been someone known as a like you can say a SAP consultant, or a Oracle consultant, where you go out and install all these things, or you consult, you would already know what I'm talking about. These coders, they ultimately design what we as a finance professional tell them to. We are the architects of the software, or we are the persons who go ahead first, meet the client, understand their requirements, and then we tell these coders how to develop and what exactly is the requirement of the client. So we are the middlemen, or you can say we are the person who are going to make this you can say possible. Right now we have a lot of coders who have developed it, and the problem why it is not that much known to the people and everything, because they are just coders. They have coded it out, they have done their work. And now what is happening is we need architects, and we need product managers, and we need people who can understand this project and can develop a user interface that everyone can understand. These things are very difficult. If you cannot understand it, definitely I can, if I can just go ahead and I can open a website to you, and nothing will make sense to you. So you need to understand all those things in order to become architects. So that is there. And when we talk about finance, we talk about audits, we talk about accounting. So when we, there is a concept that is coming in, we have been doing double accounting system since inception, I think, since we were born. And it is from the 15th century that we have been doing it. Now when we're doing it, what is happening is there is a new thing that is coming, which is triple accounting system. Now this triple accounting system is not something which you need to think that the basic principles or the golden rules are going to change. No, they're not going to change. Nothing is going to change here. What will happen is this third entry that we're talking about. So let's assume, I'll just give you a very good simple example, and you'll understand what triple accounting system is. Let's assume you have, I and you are doing a transaction. I am purchasing something from you. So when I'm purchasing something from you, you record a sale, I record a purchase. We both have recorded purchase and sale in different books. Let's say I've purchased it on credit. I am not taken a cash sale, or I'm not taking a cash purchase. So what will happen is, let's say when you are recording sale, you record the sale at 110 rupees. I record the purchase at 100 rupees, because I thought you will be giving me a 10 rupee discount. Then there comes a need for a reconciliation, and that is why you see in the top big Fortune 500s, we have so many reconciliationists, so big teams that are there, that they're doing ARAP reconciliations, bank reconciliations, and all those things. Here what happens is, as soon as you record these entries, because right now what is happening is your books are in silo, they're not talking to each other. If they're not talking to each other, what is happening is, if they cannot talk to each other, you cannot reconcile them until and unless you finally send out a debit note or a credit note or a final bill to someone. So that is why what happens here is, blockchain or the triple accounting system, what happens is it attaches all these books, my books of accounts and your books of accounts. And as soon as we enter the accounting, as soon as I enter 100 rupees and you enter 110, it will raise an alarm, or it will raise a flag that the amounts do not match. So on that time only, at that particular time only, you just resolve it. As soon as that is resolved, and you say yes, now the amount, let's say it was 105, and both the people have entered 105, the third entry, which is happening on this ledger of blockchain, it will be like a timestamp, which will say done deal. Now you cannot go ahead and you cannot modify all these things. So that is how accounting, it's the triple accounting system works. It is not something where the accounting rules or the golden rules or anything is yeah, we do not read reconciliations. Reconciliation is the reconciliation market is the biggest market in the accounting industry that is going to be hit, and people are still searching for ARAP jobs. So if we do not have the knowledge, we will do that way. It is not something that I can laugh off. I'm sorry about that. And yes, so knowledge is something that we need here. So that is the second thing. First thing. The second thing is audit. We as financial professionals, we are indulged in so many audits. We do so many audits: internal audit, external audit, statutory audit. Sorry, there's no external audit. So internal, statutory audit. There are so many audits that we do. And still at the end of the year, what happens is, first of all, you have duplicated the audits. Maybe the same accounting entry was checked at different intervals, maybe in internal audit also and statutory audit as well. And at the end of the year, what happens is you say that you have done a sample based audit. What if I tell you, with the help of smart contracts, all this accounting will become real time, and it will always be there, where you cannot modify all these things. And you do not have to audit these particular accounting entries, because these accounting entries start from a smart contract that I earlier talked about. And all you have to do is you have to check whether that smart contract was correct or not. If that smart contract is correct, that means all the accounting that is going on from that smart contract is automatically correct. So from as a sample based auditing, you move to 100% accounting module that is going ahead. Well, that is going to happen. So no more all these things where people just say that we had done the sample based auditing and we could not see this particular accounting, so maybe there was a fraud, and ultimately the customers or the shareholders have to bear it. So that goes away. Second is consultants, like I talked to you about the consultants. So basically what happens in a consultancy is, when you start with, please mute yourself. So when we talk about consultancy, what happens is, first of all, you gather the data or the requirement of the client, and then you have a detailed consultation with them. You develop a prototype. All these things, where until and unless the prototype is developed, you need someone as a consultant. These are not coders who are going to be a consultant, because they cannot understand finance. Engineers cannot understand finance, same way financial people cannot understand engineering. So here we need to be the first person. We need to be the first person who are going to tell our customers. Now there are a lot of people who might be there from practice world, and they were, what they'll feel is, why do we need it? This is where you can come in, where you can tell your client what exactly is the solution they should deploy, because there is not just one solution, there are a lot more of them. Just to quote, there are around 7,200 types of cryptocurrencies. Like you said that there is one which is Bitcoin. So there are around 7,200 of them. Could come as a shock. So that is there. So similarly, enterprise solutions, there are plenty of enterprise solutions that are there, which you need to understand in order to tell your client whether blockchain is something that they want to deploy. Why? Because this is something where costs are involved right now at a very high level. Why? Because there is a huge demand of blockchain consultants, there is a huge demand of blockchain architects, and a very huge demand of coders who can make these things. And right now they are not available in this world, and they are very limited. Right now, if I talk about India, there are just 10,000 people in both consultants and people who can actually code out what a blockchain solution is actually. And a lot of people, they say themselves that they are the blockchain experts and they can tell you everything. Believe me, till date I have not been able to find more than 5 or 6. I have found 4 or 5 people who are yet more knowledgeable even than me, but there are literally so many people who are just claiming to be blockchain consultants, and when you talk to them for, like, just say 10 minutes, they have just understood the basics of it, and they're just claiming out to be blockchain experts, and that comes up. So right now there is a huge demand, and if you can come in at the time when the demand is there, you can definitely make an impact. So that is there. And the last thing is taxation. Also, we have tax audits, we have them right now ongoing, GST audits and tax audits, income tax audits, that you guys are doing right now. When the data is real time, you do not need to do all these audits. Why? Because you already when you did statutory audit, you already checked the 100% data. Now when you're checking all the 100% data, So the number of people that you needed, or the time that you needed today for completing a tax or a statutory audit, that reduces a lot. Now here is when I tell you, go to Google and now Google it out. The number of finance professionals recruited by the big fours versus the number of coders or the software engineers that have been taken up by these people or they have been hired, you will be shocked to see the results yourself. So that is again something that is changing. And the last thing, what are the exact places where you can work? The first is blockchain, public blockchain research. So like you have equity researchers and M&A, you have public blockchain research. Here what you do is you tell your clients, you, like for example, Fidelity has a fund of, if you want to invest in Bitcoins, Fidelity has a fund. If you want to invest more than $100,000 in Bitcoin, Fidelity has earmarked or made a separate team to deal with it and to understand all these things. So that is already there. A lot of companies are coming in, research companies from abroad, and a lot of places where they're telling us that this is the way where you can come with us, we will hire you. And they're not paying you something like 10,000, 15,000. There is just I've just taken a snippet of one of the internships. It is saying that it pays 3,000 dice per month. Now, I'll not tell you the value of one die. It is, go ahead, search it out on Google, and maybe by the end of this webinar, someone tells me how much is 3,000 dice per month. So that is up to you. Go ahead and search it out. And then second is product development. There is a company called Coinex. It is an exchange. It is right now Bosch is hiring right now product development people. What they're doing is they are actually developing. They are developing products based on the requirements of various companies that are out there. So that is there. I keep getting a lot of mails. I keep a lot of messages that this is a new product that we have. This is our new company. So all those are product managers. The third one is blockchain consultants. Like I told you, the people who are there who want to consult into what exactly is the blockchain solution that one wants to deploy. So that is there. The next one is analytics and trackers. Blockchain tracker is a job. Blockchain, sorry, I've written it wrong. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin tracker is actually a job. So you just go ahead and you track from one address from where that Bitcoin is getting generated, from where it is moving out, how it is moving out. If any fraud is happening, you can trace all the trails that are attached to that particular transaction. So already that is there. Another thing that finance professionals can do is being a node validator. So like I told you, in Bitcoin, you have over 100,000 nodes or miners who are validating all the transactions. But that is not true for enterprise solutions. In your company, you will not have 100,000 people who will validate your transaction. If I'm just making a payment of 10 rupees and there are 100,000 people validating it, the cost will be huge. So you just have 10, 15 people in your enterprise solutions who are validating all these transactions. Correct. Someone has answered it. The value of this internship is 2.25 lakh rupees per month. That is the value that is there. So that is just an internship opportunity. So imagine how much you're getting paid for actually doing a proper equity research job. It is huge right now. Whatever salary you're drawing, multiplied by at least 3 or 4. So that is happening. So all these things are coming into picture, but you need to start now. So that is something that I wanted to tell. You need to start somewhere, and in order to start somewhere, you need someone who can make you understand that. And that is where I come in. So if you want, we are starting a new batch next week, and it is going to be a 2 month batch. It is not something I'm going to just give it out to you in a day or two. No, it takes time. I want to make you understand all those things. So if you want, you can go ahead and register. I'll just for this webinar, I have mm, let me send it out for everyone. So you can go ahead and you can just make a purchase if you want, and you can use my name's initial AISH to get a 20% discount there. And now if you have any questions, now I'm open to it. As many questions as you want. This will run till 8. So if you have any questions, go ahead now. You can come online. Don't need to write it out, all those things. Just go ahead, unmute yourself, and you can ask. Till then, I'll just see all the questions that are there. Purchase order can be a smart contract. Definitely, purchase orders can be all autumn. If anything, see how where a smart contract can be deployed is something where, for example, if you just want something like, for example, if what if then if, that is a simple principle that it works on. What if then if you know conditions which can be fulfilled, which can be completed, then smart contract can be deployed, and smart contract can help you in understanding a lot more things later on. Then we have another one. Triple accounting is something like a like the propo. So right now, if you want to understand in GST where exactly is the use case, you can talk about the new codes that are coming in, where you get a hash code, the ISIN numbers that are there. So that is the security mechanism that is deployed on Bitcoin network. So the timings of this course is basically it is a recorded one on the weekdays. On every weekend, we have a live class every evening uh, from 6 to 8, whereby I tell you some new concepts and I answer all the doubts that are there live. It is not something where you have to wait for 10 days. I come online, I answer all of them live. This is a big misconception. Nothing in India has been blocked. Nothing, I quote, nothing. There is nothing in India that is illegal, which is banned, which is not legal in India. Everything is possible in India. Just that when you have a fiat currency that is legally backed by RBI, which is also a myth. I quote it here as well. It is just a myth. If everyone that is there in India, if you go out and you just say RBI, give its that money's worth to you, let's say in gold, you will never get it. So yes, you have all the recorded sessions if you want. And there is nothing like, see, everything is available for you, and everything will be available for a year. It is already there. Then next thing is cryptocurrency is bad. Yeah, I told you. Nothing is blocked in India. Yes, anyone can access it within 365 days. It will be, yes, basically, yes, these live classes that will happen on the weekend, it will be on Zoom itself. Right. Value of blockchain is dependent upon a lot of factors. For example, the security mechanism that it deploys, the scalability that it has, the speed with which it can process transactions. So like, for example, if we talk about Bitcoin can process like 13 14 transactions per second. So that is very low. While when you talk about MasterCard and Visa, they process around 60,000 transactions. They have the capability to process 60 70,000 transactions per second. So we see that as well. Then we get these things. Not at all. I am not at all related to coding at all. I just understand how to deploy a like say smart contract on Ethereum, but apart from that I have no knowledge. And believe me, when I talk blockchain, a lot of people are there who, so basically what blockchain has given me is it has given me the access to the top world. Anyone who wants to understand a solution is there, who is asking me how to go ahead with it. I'm consulting international projects, and that has happened because I understand blockchain. So basically, you do not need any coding languages. If I am getting it, if I am able to do it, definitely you can also do it. Um, Definitely, Vinayak, if you want, you can say advanced courses. I can suggest you. You can connect with me one on one later on. I hope we are connected on LinkedIn. Just let me know. We can have a talk on advanced courses. I do have access to some of the courses which I can get you at a discount. How to trade on Bitcoin? Basically, you can just get a wallet, and from that wallet, like for example, you have Zeppay, ZEBPAY, Zeppay. You can just go ahead, install it, do your KYC, and after KYC, you can trade in Bitcoins. There is a certification. Job internship support is not there because this is not an advanced course. You need to have advanced knowledges before you enter into all these things. It is not something that you're going to get within a month. So definitely not something where you get a job from it. So when you basically, Apurva, what will happen is when you understand or when you learn about this technology, you will have a lot of questions, tremendous number of questions that you will have. And that is where I come in, where I have one other friend with me, which is who is Prem. I think he's also there in the webinar. And we ensure that all the doubts that you have and everything that you have as a query, we make you understand. We get you through the basic fundamentals. So for example, if you have to do a thesis on maths, and you do not know how to add, that is something that you cannot do for possibly later on. So this is something where I build your fundamentals, and these fundamentals have not come in just from the bookish knowledge. It is from the practical knowledge that I command. And believe me, you can have as many questions as you want, and you will always get an answer. Reconciliations, yes, they are flagged definitely, but they not just reconciliation. What happens here is it is a lot more things. So let's say if you someone so it will be how let's talk about it, Soumya. When we talk about this, basically what is happening is your books and someone else's books, they are not talking to each other. So how do you flag this transaction? Let's say in your books of accounts, I have in you have written 110 rupees as for me, and I for in my books I've written 105 rupees payable to you, and you have written 110 rupees receivable from you. So how does your software tell me that? Because my book and your book are not talking to each other. No, you do not need technical knowledge to build this career. You need strong fundamental knowledge of the technology, how this technology works, and all the things that are underlying it, except for the coding language. That is why we say we are the architects. We are not the coders. Stock market is getting disrupted. A lot of company in the let me see. So here in stock market, we have a lot of companies that have already started, like for example OpenSea, Origin, Distract. Investing is there, sets are there. So these are happening within seconds. So all these things, so basically I will have to explain. I cannot explain everything that easily because you need to understand the fundamentals, but I can tell you this: stock markets, they happen within seconds. Here also they are happening within seconds. The deliveries that you have today is t plus 2 days. The deliveries that are happening here is t plus 2 seconds. So here when you talk about server issues basically we have in servers get stopped, or let's say when you're trading, sometimes you get a message that we are down, we are not able to process your transactions. This happens a lot in a lot of platforms that have just emerged. So all these, there is no downtime in blockchain. Bhavna, I've just given the course to you, which I teach, and that is something that you can understand, and I think that is the best one that you can get. But apart from that, if you want to go ahead and you want to pursue somewhere else, Coursera is the best place where you can learn from NCR, you can learn from Wharton. Definitely, you can go there. Data analytics, we do not cover data analytics, but we do cover one of the use cases of data analytics. For example, there was a recent hack that happened in Twitter, where you would have seen address was floated saying that if you send your money to this address, your money would be returned doubled in 30 minutes. How that how that money came into this account and how it flew to different accounts. So that is something that you understood. I make you understand from here, if in one of the examples here.
And just to add one point on data analytics, I mean, blockchain is the basis on from the data using which you can do the data analytics. Let me refer a use case with respect to COVID. Initially, when the COVID came in roughly on March or April, that time, there is a startup which has actually taken the data which is based on the blockchain so that they were able to accurately locate the people who were transferred and who were transferred from via air travels and all. So we can say that once the data is on the top of blockchain, you can do value data analytics, which will be proving to be accurate and true, other than relying on the central systems and taking the data from there, which is not so reliable.
Exactly. And yeah, people can start trading it. See, the solution is already there in India, but because the infrastructure is not ready to support it, that is why we are not able to uh, implement that. Earning, if you talk about it right now, if you are the first mover and you can develop a network whereby you can command a lot of power in the network, you can go as high as 1 CR per year. Nothing is banned in India. We do not have any category which is right now banned in India. So everything, if it is not banned, so it is available. Recorded classes are available anytime that you want to see. Live classes will be at the weekend in evening. So like I told you, there are 70 to 100 types of coins. So these Ether, BAT, Tether, Litecoin, EOR, these are all these one among these 70 to 100. So when we talk about triple accounting system, let's say if this party, so that is why I said when this is completely developed, so everyone will be there on blockchain. If he or she is not there, then triple accounting system cannot work there. In India, yes, definitely a lot of hurdles are there, and that is why I told you that the solution is already ready. There is a startup in Pune which has already developed the solution, but because the everything is not there digital in India for land records, they are just waiting. So a lot of companies, what they have done is they have already created the solutions. They are just waiting for the infrastructure to upgrade, and as soon as it does, they will be employing the solution. Oh, have I answered everyone, or do we have some other questions?
So if you have any doubts on the core structure or how it goes, anything, any questions you can ask.
Hi Aishwar,
Yeah.
and hello everyone. So basically, I'm a CA final student.
Mhm.
I'm interested in this course basically. So what can I expect from the course actually?
So basically, what we try to do is, first of all, if you'll go to the link, it is already given, but still, let me tell you. Basically, what we do is we develop the basics. So, what exactly is blockchain? What are the attributes to blockchain? What are the basic things that you need to understand on blockchain, and how things are moving? What are smart contracts? What are the biggest implementation challenges? What are the basic use cases in finance? And all these things we cover, and then what we do is we give you a case study also, whereby we develop your knowledge in a particular industry, and we understand at the end of that case study whether blockchain is a deployable solution in that company or not. Why? Because what happens is a lot of people just say that blockchain is a solution for everything. That is a wrong answer that is the wrong answer that they give you. Blockchain is not for everything. Blockchain has a limited scope and a limited use. It is not that everything, if you have one problem, blockchain is a solution. If you have the different problem, blockchain is a solution. So that is something how you actually understand what is the solution, and then how you make a choice whether blockchain is actually going to be deployed in a particular solution or not. So that is what we teach you there.
Yeah, thank you.
With the right approach, you can say the live sessions are on Sundays. So on Sundays, for every we have 2 months, or for all these days we have classes on Sunday. How much time depends upon how much dedication you have. So it basically depends upon how much dedication you can have and how much you can deploy your time on. The live ones also recording is available. See, Pi is something which is still in POC concept, whereby they are letting you mine, or like, for example, in Bitcoin, what was happening in 2008, similarly, they are trying to do it in 2020. We do not know it yet whether it will go live and when it, so there are assumptions that when it will go live, it will, 1 Pi will be equivalent to $1. And based on that, a lot of people are mining it. I myself included in it. I have around 8,000 Pis. So if actually it turns out to be, I will have around $8,000, but something that is not yet clear until and unless, because they are yet not sure when they are going to bring it live. Live sessions will keep on happening. Just let us know which batch you are attending, so that we will adjust. So basically, we have every batch every month. So if you are attending those classes after 2 months, just let us know. We are attending it in that batch, and we will cover you in that batch live classes. Yeah, so basically just let me know if you are interested in taking the course. If you have still questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and basically I will definitely answer all your questions. I can share my WhatsApp number as well if you want. I can just write it out here as well. You can connect with me, and you can talk, ask anything that you want. Yeah, I'm happy to answer all the questions, and go ahead, take as much as you can. Correct, correct, correct. I guess we are out of questions, so that means I've answered all the questions. You still have any questions? Last chance. See, internet, you can definitely go ahead. You can go on YouTube, you can learn it out. But what will happen is, as soon as you start learning, let's say if you see a class of 1 hour, within after 20 minutes, you will have 20 questions and nobody to answer it. And that's when you will think that this is a
Hello.
technology I don't understand. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Hi. What my question was that is India going to face an infrastructure problem in terms of, let's say, the world is moving towards this, but we have seen that India is always, let's say, 5 to 10 years, or I'm saying it.
What happens is
I'm
correct.
saying less years, but definitely is India is going to face infrastructure problems in terms of we are never the first movers. We are always the followers. So we are following the countries that have adopted, and then at a later stage we found ourselves back.
See,
So how much? Okay, so yeah,
so
that is
basically,
what my question is.
your
So at what time will we be?
your concern is correct, and there is not. But the second part, the first part is your concern. Your concern is absolutely correct. We take time, but this is not happening here. So what happened was because of these 2 years of RBI ban, a lot of startups had to shut down or they had to move overseas. Now what we already know is any law can come into India. So what we are doing is we are proactively registering ourselves outside India. We're not registering ourselves in India. A lot of startups who are started by Indian people, they are getting registered across the globe, and they're opening a subsidiary in India because they're operating from India. And even if, see, it is like the internet, you cannot ban it. Even if when the RBI said I've banned it, what actually it meant was banks were not encashing it. What I did was I had around 2 lakh rupees in cryptos at that time. I started using it to purchase things. I started using it to make transactions, to make payments. And I was still trading. What stopped for me was I cannot convert that 2 lakh rupees into my bank accounts 2 lakh rupees. That was it. But because of this, a lot of exchanges had to shut down because people thought, see, that in India what happens is information flows very slowly, misinformation flows very rapidly. So that is what happened. Misinformation flew so rapidly. When I used to go to fight income tax cases on blockchain bitcoins, income tax officer would say that this is illegal. I said, give me a quote where it is written. He said that the former finance minister said it. So I said that there is no income tax ministry, there is no income tax authority here. So will you take my word and start saying that this is just a building, it is not an income tax building? That is not true. Anyone, we are living in a democratic nation, and we are free to say whatever we want. But the law is not saying that. Till now, no law has said that it is illegal in India. It is just saying that it is not a legal tender. There is a very big difference between being illegal and being not a legal tender. So being a legal tender means you cannot if someone is refusing that, if you, let's say I am paying you in bitcoins and you are refusing it, So I cannot go to police or I cannot go to court to say that he has refused to take the payment. While for the fiat currency that we have today, if someone is refusing to take the payment in that, we can go ahead and we can say that I was making a payment of 100 rupee note and he said he will not take it. That is the difference. That is the only thing that was not allowed at that point of time. So India infrastructure is slow, but what is happening is a lot of development is happening over the internet. So, and the way internet is penetrating in India, definitely with the help of Reliance and with the help of Jio, that is already the penetration level is becoming very high. So this time I am very positive that we will not be the last one. We will still be the fourth runners of it. And we have a lot of startups that have in this year, around 20 startups have already come in for all these Bitcoins and blockchains and cryptocurrencies and all these services.
So just to add on the same point, I would like to say one positive thing and the negative thing. The positive thing is that whenever we see use case on the blockchain, maybe that country has implemented, maybe Dubai has implemented. If you see or if you deep dive into the technical aspects, who has supported that as a blockchain service provider, we will be seeing Indian startups or the Indian companies that are providing such services. And the negative point why it is not happening in India is that blockchain has a huge potential to act as a trust mechanism. Like, I mean, no one can do fraud. It only acts as, I mean, immutable records and all. So use considering these as and the potentiality that technology has, it's the Indians mindset. I mean, I'm not keeping the discussion into this group. People are not ready to have such an accountable system in place. So that only if you see there are a lot more projects in India on land registry or even educational systems and all, people are not ready to accept because that is creating something where people cannot act against the system. It makes them so accountable that they cannot take their actions or the words back once they have a footprint on the blockchain. So due to these potentiality of the blockchain, which can act as a trustworthy mechanism, people are just refusing it. But having said that, in other countries and use cases, if you see, there are startups from Mumbai or even Bangalore and Chennai, which are actively supporting and they are providing the blockchain as a service concepts. Yeah.
And we are already coming in let's say 2 or 3 months, you will see a new accelerator that is coming in India, which is going to help all the blockchain startups that are starting in India. Within 2 or 3 months, there will be an incubator and an accelerator that is going to be set up in India. The government it is not being set up by the government, but by the private parties. And I do know them. And so that is why it is information which you will receive within 2 or 3 months. And unorganized business, when we talk about unorganized business, definitely that will be a challenge for blockchain. So like I said, everything is not there on blockchain. So unorganized business is something where if you're talking about those like which where the traditional means are being deployed, so those will not happen. Yes, new batch will be from 8th, the next from next weekend, next Sunday. Okay then. Can we value Bitcoins like we value businesses? The answer is no. It is a completely different concept. And this is when we value business, that is a completely different concept. I learned it when I was learning it in IIMs. They taught us how to value a business on Bitcoin, so the or value of a blockchain company or a startup versus the normal businesses that we have. That is why on the basis of that, I say, yes, these two ways are different. Okay, then. Thank you so much for attending it. I see that still there are more than 20 people attending it. Thank you so much. And if you have any queries, I've written down the number as well. I've given you have my LinkedIn address. Do let me know if you want anything else from my side. Thank you. Signing off.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.